Welcome back to the Stephen Knight Show. We're back with our guest panel to talk about the hot topics everyone's talking about. So American Airlines, as we all know, a lot of people are flying more. I think even like 3.1 million people flew yesterday on Sunday, which is the most since the pandemic began. But American Airlines having to cancel flights because they just don't have the staff to support the increase of people that are flying, including pilots. So they said that they had to cancel 120 yesterday. They have to do 50 to 80 flights per day moving forward until at least July 15th. So if you have a flight with them through July 15th, you should receive notice letting you know whether or not you're impacted. But they also said that they're going to do it throughout the United States so that it's not just in one area. But if you're living in Dallas, Fort Worth, where that's their hub, then you will be impacted by that. Now, I've seen a lot of, outside of people fighting and acting up, no wonder mass, whatever, I've seen a lot of, just chaos at the airport where people are waiting in line. Usually they say get the TSA 2 hours in advance. Now they're saying 3 hours in advance. I'll start with you, Chike. Have you flown yet through the pandemic? And
Nope.
Does this make you apprehensive, or how do you feel about this?
I haven't planned on flying in a minute because these people are crazy. Mm-hmm. First of all, I have to address this. How do you ask for a $50 billion bailout, but now you have no employees to run? I'm confused. Yeah. What was the $50 billion for? I'm confused. I smell foul. Like, make it work, make it happen. People trying to get back out there, they're buying tickets, like, get it together. Yeah. You make too much money for this to be a thing.
Right. Savage?
Yes. Sorry, I got caught up in Chike's comment. What's the question?
Have you flown, and are you anticipating flying? Now that things are opening back up, what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, so we went to Jamaica over New Year's, and I already have quite a bit of anxiety flying, which is interesting because I used to travel a lot for work, and I hated it. But just being on the airplane with the correct mask on, N95, you can barely breathe and those things. And I'm talking to y'all working in a hospital, so I know you get it times 100 million. But anyway, it was different. And after getting there, I enjoyed myself. But when I got back, I was like, I can wait until things are a bit better. I am planning to go to LA, but that's more of a family trip. Mm-hmm. But as far as anywhere I want to go voluntarily by myself, I can wait. But no, I didn't realize that the guy that charged the cockpit was a flight attendant. I missed that part of it, but that's a little bit insane because, like you mentioned, they know all of what goes on to make the plane go well, and I'm sure that they wouldn't want that to happen while they were at work either. But people are crazy. And when we actually went in January or December, January, they were not limiting the capacity. So you would have restaurants that were at 50% or 25% or whatever. The plane was at 100%. Your butt was next to, what I mean? Yeah. Every seat was filled, and they were not spacing out anymore. So I don't know. I think that they're still going to have issues with people being on the plane because people get anxious when they're traveling in the airports. Yeah.
Remember the one guy, he opened the side door trying to climb onto the wing. I mean, mental illness.
Sure.
But Andre, let me ask you, how do you feel about flying now with everything going on, the delays and cancellations and everything? How do you feel about all that?
I haven't flown since the pandemic started. I'm not against it. I'm supposed to have a trip sometime later this year. No family members, friends have all flown. They all had good experiences and stuff like that. The craziness and as far as at the airport is expected, the airport was crazy beforehand, and now after a pandemic with a rush, it's going to be crazy even now. The fact that they don't have no employees is that's a little insane. But hey, if you know anybody that's looking for a job, go to the airport. They're hiring. They're telling everybody that they're available. But other than that, I don't see that there's an issue with flying or anything like that.
Mm. Yeah, I flew a few times during the pandemic when we were locked down. We could fly again, and actually because it wasn't as packed, and especially I flew Delta, they had the middle row out and everything, so I felt very comfortable doing it. But now with these fools in there at high capacity, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. Mike, how you feeling about all this?
Man, they all sound ghetto to me. Like, I don't understand why in the world, first off, like, why would you self-sabotage on a plane? Like, you're a flight attendant and you just like fall off and do that. But anyway, yeah, I'm really intrigued too why they can't like find staff or like retain, like it doesn't even make sense. And then like my thing is personally, I was one of those people, me, my wife, my son, we like locked down. Like when I quarantined, we were quarantined. Like we barely knew where we were. Like we were quarantined. But so I don't know. I haven't flown. I'm not really like super interested in flying right now. I actually travel for work, which is really strange. And like we don't have to. They said they're going to revisit it in August. So that's going to be an interesting conversation. And I mean, if I have to do it for work, I'll do it. But I mean, it just seemed ghetto to me. I don't know, man.
I know it's not too ghetto. I'm actually flying to Miami in 2 weeks, and Miami.
You stay in the air.
But listen, Miami, they have a lot of stuff going on. Shout out to our Miami viewers, but a lot of going on in their airports. I'm a little nervous about the flight back, but anyway, we'll see what happens. All right, so there've been a lot of conversations around the NCAA paying the athletes, compensating them for their game. The schools are making millions and millions of dollars. The coaches are making millions and millions of dollars, and the students aren't making anything. But the Supreme Court ruled that today they ruled actually that the NCAA cannot place a limit on the education benefits student athletes can receive. So now they can receive money as it goes to internships, computers, tutoring, educational equipment, and more. Now, Justice Brett Kavanaugh, he said that NCAA, and its member colleges are suppressing the pay of student athletes who collectively generate billions of dollars in revenue for colleges every year. Those enormous sums of money flow seemingly everyone except for the student athletes. Now, do you think, I'll ask you, Andre, do you think this is a good idea that, because they said the conversation will continue, they're saying that right now we're just talking about the benefits, but they think the athletes are pushing for payment. They're pushing for payment, and a lot of people think they'll get it one day. Do you think that's going to happen?
I don't think it will happen. The part is basically because the student athlete and, people, the student athlete of the past, to be honest with you, they did it. They went through it, the superstars and the non-superstars. And that's a really important thing. They don't want them to be getting paid. I understand the reason why they should get paid. I'm actually more on the traditional side, how things was. That's how I think it should be. Should they get benefits so they don't be starving and they can be able to, do stuff like maybe go out with a friend or something like that? Sure, but I believe they're going to make it happen because it's going to, but then you're losing the amateur status, and then there's more talk about that. I think it's working out. I like what they just passed and agreed to, but at the same time, I don't know if they're going to fully fledged just pay student athletes, because you got to pay football, but then you got to pay like the wrestling team, and the wrestling team ain't making no money. That football team is making money. That basketball team making money. Are we all on equal pay? Are we not all on equal pay? How do we do some or none? I was listening to a show, and they was talking about how this, if you're pro, oh my gosh, what is this? Women in sports, I think bill that was passed like in the 70s or 80s. I'm not 100% sure, but if you're pro that, you can't be pro paying the students, because it goes against the one and the other. And it's like that's what I'm talking about. It's one of those middle ground. You don't know how to do walk on eggshells. Like, yeah, of course I want somebody to get paid, but at the same time, you're a student athlete. So it's like if I got to walk on, and it's just real confusing. I just don't think they're ever going to really truly figure it out. But if they do, I'm good either way. But I prefer it to be more traditional with keeping athletes as students.
And Chike, one of the arguments from some of the players are that students that work in the school library, they get paid. People that work on campus, other jobs, they get paid. How come they can't get paid for playing the sports and generate billions of dollars? What are your thoughts?
So 9 times out of 10, if a student is on one of those type of teams and they're generating that type of money for the school, then they probably have a scholarship. From whence I know, that's your payment. Your free education, as long as you play for the school, is your payment. I'm kind of old school that way. I think it should be that way. Yes, the university is making money off of it, but that's their business. The coaches are making money off of it, but that's their business. If you're there for education, get your education. Yes, you use your scholarship to get through that, but your scholarship is your payment for you playing for that team. If you weren't on that team playing, then you would probably play for school. Mm-hmm. That's just where I stand on it. I think maybe those elite students that are going to probably go pro, maybe you should invest a little bit more in their education, and i.e. Some type of bridgeway to celebrity type of boot camp, so that they are prepared for what they're about to embark on instead of getting there and then falling apart.
Mm-hmm. And Mike, I know there have been, I've seen ESPN specials where there have been college students who they're making this money, but they can't afford the basics, housing, they can't afford food, things like that. Do you think they should be paid? Do you agree with the gentleman so far, other gentlemen?
So I guess I kind of see it differently. Do I think they need to be paid as in like cut them a check? I don't know. I agree with the no limit to educational benefits. I definitely agree with that. And then also other incentives. And this is the thing. I went to Michigan State, Big Ten school. A friend of mine became one of the assistant coaches for Michigan State basketball. So like, I remember the first time I saw like the student athletic building, and it's like, I mean, it's just, it looked like any other, place on campus, but then you go into Izzo's office, or you go into, like the faculty. And then when you realize, and I think Andre hit a point about, the wrestling team, they're not generating what the basketball team, what they're generating. So it makes sense that it might be a different level, but you're taking kids, a lot of these kids come from like situations where all they had was their talent.
Yeah.
And had it not been for their talent, they wouldn't even be able to go to a university, especially a Big Ten university, right? So I feel like if they're generating billions of dollars, like hundreds of millions of dollars per institution, I feel like throwing them an extra bone and grooming them. And I don't even, Chike, I even say, the ones that might have their talent might be a little more special. To me, invest in the ones that their talent is not that special, because it's a lot of people, and I have friends who their whole aim was to go pro. And by junior year, they realized that it wasn't going to happen. And now they're stuck, with a degree that they really don't even use. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I feel like all student athletes should be groomed for life after college, especially if you don't go pro. So to me, I think, paying them, because all of these billionaire white men are sitting somewhere watching these young, black and brown boys play as athletes and making them rich while they're still struggling. Their families are still at home struggling, with fingers crossed, hoping they make it pro. So I kind of err on the side of incentivize, what they're contributing, because they're giving way more than they're getting in the regard of money.
And Savage, you're also the school are making money off of merchandising, the student, the athletes, the jerseys and things like that. And these students can't get paid off their own likeliness. I think they're working towards that. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with all the points that have been made. I do have a couple of relatives that were, sorry, let me switch to my headphones. Got a little feedback coming in. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh man.
There you go.
Right, you're back.
I apologize, y'all. I have a couple of relatives that, you know, went to big colleges, and I'm just gonna dry snitch. They give those kids money. They do.
I heard they get a little kickback.
Yeah, they give them money. They pay. For example, one person was on child support. He had a kid in high school. The school helped him pay that. So I'm not saying that students shouldn't be paid. They absolutely should. But when we were talking about it, I thought there's somebody out there that's not getting a piece of the pie. So they're trying to make it even and equitable for everyone.
Yeah.
But those bigger players are getting money. Their families are getting helped out. Like the stuff you see in the movies about it is 100% true. The only thing I'm concerned about, like you were saying, the kids that come from nothing and rely on their talents, a lot of them have families that are waiting with their hands out. So I think it's just going to open them up a little bit more for exploitation on that side. If you're giving these millions when they're in college, I'm sure there's a way for them to manage that and regulate that. But that's just one concern of mine, because, you know, let's say they do make it and go pro, that's exactly what's going to happen. But yeah, so my only concern is you will have that happening on a bigger scale if you're paying out just to, you know, be playing in college. But yeah, these colleges make millions of dollars. The you know, the facilities, $1 million facilities, you know, all the sports fans, they're paying a lot of money for tickets. You know, I think that they do need to pay high, but there, you know, with anything, there's pros and cons and risks. So yeah, pay the men and women.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I think maybe they should
get
maybe.
I'm sorry.
I
just wanted to say one thing. Why does it seem like that, or at least it gets perceived that these colleges just pocket all their money and everything else? Like, they got boosters too. You know what I mean? Like, there's other people involved. It's not just the NCAA. And they like Savage said, they build these ridiculously state-of-the-art buildings for them. They got training facilities, and they get the top-notch medical staff and training that no other athlete get. Now, what I am against is that a gymnast that goes to the same school as the star football player can get an endorsement deal. That's crazy to me. The guy should be able to get an endorsement deal to put some extra money in his pocket. You know, it won't mess up his status. He doesn't have to do anything. It's just like you want to hold people accountable and you want things to be fair. Just, you know, let the star quarterback do a couple commercials so you can pay his child support if he got kids or something. You know, very simple stuff that they won't do for other people. That's don't find.
Yeah. I think maybe they should like a salary, maybe not make millions of dollars, but make something just so they can, you know, because they can't work because they're dedicating their time to their sport. They're training all the time. They're, you know, in practice. And so I think that maybe a salary, just something that they can have, just make sure they're eating if they're not getting it.
I'm going to channel my inner old head. No, we baby these kids too much already. So they're going to earn it like we did.
Well, listen, we'll take a quick commercial break. We have 2 more hot topics. Talk about Kevin Hart opens up about his cheating scandal and how it impacted his daughter. Right back after this.